today, I think it's Jose Armando reported apparently Leo Messi's chances of staying at Inter Miami are 50%. There is no agreement between the two parties yet as of now. So Messi, his deal runs through 2025. He signed in the summer of 2023, a 2.5-year deal. And part of the deal was he got a share of the MLS season pass subscriptions from Apple TV. He got a share of his jersey sales with Inter Miami. He also got a part ownership in the Inter Miami club when he's done playing, because you can't really own a team while you're playing for them. Has to be after you're done playing. So that was the deal to get him. And then probably like 25, I think his salary is 25, 30 million a year. I thought it was closer to 50, but it's reported to be 20 to 25 million. I think MLS is underreporting what he's actually making. But that was the deal he signed to 2025. Fast forward a couple years, and we heard that he was happy in Miami. He was going to sign an extension at least through 2026 because Inter Miami want him to open up with the new stadium, which apparently, to my surprise, is going to be open at the beginning of the 2026 season. I thought it was going to be the summer, but apparently the new stadium will be open at the beginning of the 2026 season. And this would be an absolute catastrophe if Messi isn't there to open the new stadium. Inter Miami haven't done enough with Messi to where when he leaves, they are still a big relevant club. And I think most of you would agree with that. Do you guys think that if Miami lost Messi right now, they would still be a relevant club? Honestly, do you think they would still be a relevant club? I don't think they would be. They just haven't won enough to be considered one of the big dogs in MLS. Not yet. So they need him to open up that new stadium. Nathan Rink says, hell no. Cute Kenny says, no. I mean, it's true. They haven't done enough yet for that to be the case, right? They need this man, the Argentine legend, the best player in the history of soccer or football. I think we're going to start calling that in the United States, maybe football. I think the president had made a joke about he didn't know which one to call it. Maybe we'll just start calling it football instead. Either way, you get my point. Best player in the sport, the history of the sport. Okay? And they can't afford to lose him. And I also have this. I'm going to show you guys real quick. This is the Inter Miami roster designations and how long their contract is through. So Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets, Lionel Messi, and where is he at? Luis Suarez. All of their contracts run through 2025. So the Barca Boys are locked in together until 2025. Cringe says no, but if they win MLS Cup and maybe Leagues Cup this year, maybe. But that's a lot. That's a long shot. Yeah, that's going to be tough to do. That's going to be tough. Nathan Rink says probably the most plastic fan base in the league. I don't Miami all plastic. I don't know about that. But they haven't done enough with him here. They've got one Leagues Cup trophy, a Supporters Shield trophy, which, that's not the champion of the league. And that's all they have. And if you see Messi recently, I don't think he's going to leave. I want to preface that. I don't think he's going to leave. But he has all the leverage right now. He has all the leverage because he's out of contract. He's the biggest star in the world. They need him more than he needs them. And if they don't do what he wants, he'll just leave. And what club in the world wouldn't want Lionel Messi on their team? Now, I don't think Barcelona could afford him, and he probably wouldn't. I know this is crazy to say, but he probably wouldn't play for them. He wouldn't start at this point. I mean, he's not going to take Lamine Yamal's spot. So he would probably go back to Argentina, honestly. Either way, Messi has all the leverage. He has all the leverage. He doesn't have to sign anything. I remember when he came here in 2023, how big of a deal it was because of the race where everybody was trying to sign him. Was he going to go back to Barcelona? Was he going to go to Saudi Arabia? Was he going to come to Inter Miami and play in MLS? That was the real debate. And I remember no one really knew. I mean, I had heard rumors at the time that he was likely to come to MLS and Inter Miami because of the sponsorship deals, the package that they'd offered him, and the lifestyle that his wife was looking for after being miserable at PSG. But he just doesn't look happy right now. And maybe that's because the team isn't very good around him. But the problem with that is that he kind of built this team around him. He's got all of his guys. And we're going to talk about this too. I want to talk about who you guys would want to keep and who you'd want to get rid of if you were in charge of Inter Miami. But there are guys on this team who are just making way too much money that just aren't doing anything. Michael says, my dude's face is plastered over everything MLS. This would be devastating to their brand. Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, Michael. That's a good point. This would be devastating to their brand. In my opinion, MLS would be better without him. Interesting. Executive producer Herb says, best-selling jersey worldwide. That's huge in a league where numbers talk. I agree with that. Soccer News says they'll still try to re-sign him no matter what. Of course they will. Of course. Are you talking about Barcelona? Cringe says, I think Messi wants the fans to know he's pissed. It's possible he's using this as leverage to make ownership sign more players. And Mr. Another member of the channel says, I don't think he'll go yet. Like I've said before, he goes anywhere, it'll probably be Newell Old Boys back in Rosario. I agree with that. But here's another thing, too, you got to think about. Think about the leverage he has because the World Cup is in 2026. He would be leaving a year before the World Cup. Well, 6 months before the World Cup because MLS season ends in December officially. So he would be leaving 6 months before the World Cup. He would be leaving before Miami Stadium is built. I mean, he really has all the chips right now. He has all the chips right now. Now, I don't know what else he would possibly want. He's already paid handsomely. He's already going to get part of the team. He already gets a cut of the streaming revenue from Apple TV, which is crazy, right? Not crazy as in he doesn't deserve it. Crazy as in like that's how much pull he has where he can get money like that. What other player in the world could go to a league and say, "Hey, I'm coming to this league. I want a cut of your streaming revenue." How many players could do that? I think maybe he's the only one. I don't think any other player could do that. And then also get a percentage of his jersey sales. I mean, he is just a cash cow for the league, but they've also put him on this pedestal, right? They've put Messi on this pedestal, the league has. And I can't remember who had mentioned this earlier, but talk about plastering his face. I think it was Michael, plastering his face everywhere. Plastering his face everywhere they possibly could to where Inter Miami is probably the most hated team in Major League Soccer. Now, I mean, that's the sense I get. They're the most hated team in Major League Soccer. And when you look at the accomplishments or lack thereof that this team has had since he's been here and how many games he's played, I think he's only played like 30 games for Inter Miami in 2.5 years. Or 2 years technically because he's signed halfway through the 2023 season. He's only played like 30 games. And when Favi comes on here, we'll talk about this, about the success and how his tenure in Miami will be looked at. But if Messi were to leave in 2025 or after 2025, I would say his stint in the MLS was a failure for Miami and it was a failure for the league because you cannot say that this league has grown in the time that Messi has been here. Now, is that his fault? No, not entirely. It also has to do with the Apple TV deal and it being behind a paywall and people not being able to see him. But if you are being honest with yourself and you look at the big picture, Messi in MLS has been kind of disappointing. It's been kind of disappointing. Let's read some comments here. Yeah, Cringe says, guys, let's get some likes for Will. Yeah, me and Fabi have a goal tonight to hit 100 likes. I don't know how many we're at right now, but make sure you like this video down below if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Tommy, a friend of the channel, says, MLS better without him. That's a take. However, MLS hasn't prepared themselves for life after Messi, not promoting many other players. And see, that's another important point, Tommy, is that you would have thought that MLS would have taken this opportunity to get more players recognition playing next to Messi. I remember when I use this example a lot, but I remember when Messi was playing against FC Dallas in Leagues Cup and Alan Velasco was playing for Dallas. And he looked really good in that game against Miami. And then he was talked about. He was kind of, I don't want to say a hot commodity, but he was in the headlines, people were saying, man, this guy's good. Who is this guy? And it got him some recognition. And that's what they should have done, is taken this opportunity to lift other players up. Now, that did happen with players on Miami's team, like Diego Gomez. Diego Gomez, playing next to Messi and playing well, elevated his stock and ended up getting him sold to Brighton for $15 million. And there needed to be more of that. You needed to have more players' status elevated by playing next to Messi, or their profiles elevated. And another thing that they've done wrong, and I've talked about this too, is, and you can look at this, all these players, this is their roster designations right now, okay? The problem with Inter Miami right now, there's a lot of problems with them. You know, obviously they're not a terrible team, but there's a lot of issues with them. The problem with Inter Miami is that they signed all of Messi's friends who are all old. Messi's old himself, but so are his friends, right? Alba's 35 or 36. Sergio Busquets will be 37 this summer. Luis Suárez is 38 years old. Messi will be 38 years old this summer. What player do they have on this team who is good? Like really good. I'm talking like a top talent, not in top in the world, but, you know, for MLS standards, a top talent in MLS and is in their prime. Either they sign guys who are young, developing, U22 players, or they sign really old players. There's nothing in the middle. They don't have a designated player who's 25, 26, 27 years old who is in their prime and very good. It's either really old or really young. So you have a bunch of inexperienced players or a bunch of guys who just, they're past their prime. They just can't do what they used to do. Luis Suárez has probably had the biggest fall off in 2025 of any player on this team. Sergio Busquets, and we're going to talk about this too, about all these players that are out of contract and who they should bring back. But if Messi's trying to leverage bringing back Sergio Busquets, that's just a bad move. You can't bring back Sergio Busquets on a DP deal. He's making $10 million a year. He's not worth $10 million a year. He's the second highest paid. Well, actually, he's the third highest paid player. He's the third highest paid player in MLS. He's not the third best player in Major League Soccer. You can't bring back a player like that in MLS at $10 million a year at 37 years old. You can't re-sign. Now, if he was willing to take a team-friendly deal, fine, bring him back. That would make sense. But if Messi is leveraging his friends to get new deals, or he won't re-sign, I mean, okay, let me ask you guys, let's get you more involved. If Messi goes to ownership and says, hey, the only way I re-sign with your club is if you bring back Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, and Luis Suárez. But Sergio Busquets goes to Jorge Mas and David Beckham and says, hey, I'll come back in 2026. I'll come back in 2027, but I'm not taking a pay cut. So to keep Messi, are you willing to use a DP spot on Sergio Busquets? Are you willing to use a DP spot on Sergio Busquets at this point in his career to keep Messi? Angelo says, what's the link for that to look at the DP and TAM players or website called? I'll make sure, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll make sure to retweet it here so you can check it out yourself. I'll do that here in a second. I'll do that when Fabi hops on here in a little bit. Saul says, any word on Pogba to MLS? There was a team he was linked with recently, DC United. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe. He hasn't signed with any European team, so anything's possible. Executive producer Herb says, worrisome how the Apple deal is aging bad. The Apple deal is aging so bad. You guys have no idea how many people reach out to me and tell me how big of a disaster it's been for MLS. I'm not going to share what I was told specifically, but I heard some numbers of like a game last year, the viewership numbers of a game last year that are so bad, they're almost hard to believe. Really, it's not. Let's see. Really says, I think he will stay. Francisco says it's a package deal. Says, to me, Inter Miami isn't built to work together. It's Messi and friends versus young players trying to move to Europe and showcase their skills. They need experienced MLS players to make a deep run. I don't think they need MLS players to make a deep run. I just think they need to get players who are in their prime. They need players who are actually not super young to where they don't really know what they're doing, or they're just not there yet, or guys who are just too damn old. Brian says I can't put heat on any heat. I think he meant any heat on Suarez because he's making pennies. Yeah, I mean he's making like 1.5, 1.6 million, but you don't need to sign him again. You don't. I mean, I know why you did it this year, but you cannot re-sign him. Cute Kenny says MIA. Really says he will stay because he needs to win a trophy that matters. Butterdog says if Messi's friends don't get new contract deals, then Messi might be leaving. That's what I'm thinking. If Messi doesn't, if his friends don't, if Miami says we're ready to move off some of these guys, I'm worried that, well, for Miami's sake, that he's not going to stay. I'm thinking that he might not stay. He's using this as a bargaining chip to say, hey, if you don't re-sign my guys, I'm out of here. I'm going back to Argentina. Cute Kenny says Miami should have go for younger players. They have flexibility this summer. Jordi Alba isn't a true DP, or there's a way they can buy him down since it's his last year at the halfway point this summer, and they could sign a young not a young DP, a younger designated player, someone who's not 35, 36 years old. The question is, are they going to do that? Because they were rumored to be signing Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is going in the wrong direction still. He's too old in that midfield to be effective. And I don't want him there because I want the good players to be spread out to, give people a reason to want to watch other teams play. But Kevin De Bruyne is not going to solve this team's issues. They need someone who's like 25 or 26 years old. They need a striker. One player that I think maybe they should call, or a team they should call, is they should call Lazio and see if they'd be willing to sell Tati Castellanos to them. Because Tati Castellanos has proven he can score in MLS. He's 26 years old. He's got caps with the Argentine national team. That just checks all the boxes. If Lazio is willing to sell Tati Castellanos, I think that would be a great, great signing for Inter Miami. That's who they should be targeting. Jesus says, then that's on Messi if he built this team. No one should be above any team, regardless of any player's name. No, he has got to take some accountability too. He picked these players for the most part. He picked this coach. He picked the last two coaches. So, I mean, this is what he built. Guys, we got 70 people in the chat right now. Make sure you hit that thumbs button up. Like this video down below. I think we're at like 30 right now. Let's try to get to 50 before Favi pops on there. I just text him to see when he is planning to hop in here. So let's try to hit 50. We got 70 of you in here right now. And also subscribe if you haven't already. Michael says, it sounds like MLS now might miss out on KDB too. Just like I'm not buying the KDB to Liverpool, or was it Roma? And then there was, I think, Napoli. I think he's coming to MLS. So I think he's going to go to Chicago. And someone had reported earlier that he was going to meet with his representatives were going to meet with Chicago at some point this week. So I'm not really worried about KDB going to any other club except Chicago at this point. Cringe says the team needs cohesiveness. They need more playing time, but they also need a few key players. I agree with that. Angel says, don't worry, FIFA will help him to get to the Club World Cup. Yeah, and that's another thing. I want to show you guys this too, because this also came out today. So Inter Miami currently have $2 million in GAM, which they had 3.5, I think, when it was last revealed, like 2 months ago, I think. 2 months ago. They got 2 million right now. And there's going to be a window where teams can sign players heading into the Club World Cup. I just don't think Messi wants to be embarrassed at the Club World Cup, but he also wants to play with his friends. They're going to have to change the way they're building this team if they don't want to be embarrassed at the Club World Cup in this summer. And the way that they've looked recently, I originally thought that Inter Miami had a real chance of maybe getting out of their group. Okay? I don't feel that way anymore. I do not feel that way anymore. I think that they will get embarrassed in their group. I do not think they have any chance. I think that they are going to get smoked because their back line is inconsistent. They don't score goals consistently. They're too old or too inexperienced. They just don't have that good combination. And if they sign Kevin De Bruyne or Angel Di Maria, which Favi, when he gets on here, he's in favor of signing Angel Di Maria, which is crazy. You can't sign another guy who is 37 years old. You can't sign another guy who's 37 years old to come on this team that's already so old. That's going in the wrong direction. And I don't think Angel Di Maria would come here for a discount. I think he would want to be paid decently. I don't know if he'd want a DP deal per se, but he's not going to come here for 200 or 300K. So they have to be very smart on who they sign this summer. And they really, I'm telling you, if they get Tati Castellanos, that would be such a great signing. That would be such a great signing for them. And I think it would change the dynamic of this team. If they had a striker who had even a little bit more speed, who has proven he can play in this league. I mean, Tati Castellanos, he scored 19 goals in 2021. He scored 13 goals in half the season and 17 matches in 22 before going to Girona on loan and scored 13 goals in La Liga. He scored 10 goals for Lazio this year, and I think it's 14 and 35 appearances. Now, I don't know if they would sell him, but that's someone I would call to see if they would be interested in doing business. And it's a guy who checks a lot of boxes: age, experience in the league, must be an Argentine international. Does anyone know Baltasar's skills? I had heard that he's more talented than Facundo Frias. I heard that he's more talented than Facundo Frias, but I don't know. He hasn't played yet. They've had these guys that they just haven't integrated into the starting lineup for some reason yet. Rat said this is BS. Messi and his friends need to go. He is above the law in Major League Soccer. LAFC will win the Club World Cup. Yeah, if they win their game against Club America, yeah, that's a pretty rough group. The guy on Inter was 37. He is in the UCL final. The guy on Inter was 37. Which guy are you talking about? Are you talking about Mkhitaryan, I think? He's 35. 35, 36. And that's the thing. All the players around him aren't that old. They've got world-class players in their prime around him. Francisco says the bigger problem is that when Messi and friends leave, there seems that there is no plan B for the future. Yeah, that's a problem too. It would be worse for him. I mean, look, he's going to leave eventually, right? He's not going to stay here forever. The problem is that he cannot leave early. That would be very detrimental to the league. He cannot leave early. Michael Pelly says, are there any younger Argentina national team players they have a realistic chance of signing? Not that I've heard of, but that's another thing too. They have Toto Aviles, who's not even playing. He's a U22 who's not even on the pitch. Federico Redondo does not play every game. I don't even know who their third U22 is because I can't tell if it was Baltasar Rodriguez. Let me pull this back up. I'm curious now. Who is their third U22? Was it Baltasar Rodriguez or Talasco Segovia? Let's see. Okay, it's Talasco Segovia. So Baltasar Rodriguez isn't even technically a U22. So Segovia is the only U22 player who's even starting on this team consistently. So you're young. That's like the nickname for it, young DP, right? Your young DP U22 isn't even playing. Like two of them aren't even starting for you. Let's see, Francisco, no, Michael. If they are in the national team, they already have a ticket for Europe. Jay says, Di Maria would be fine as a TAM if they use their U22s on the back line. You can stack up older quality guys in the attack. Yeah, but I don't really trust young guys in the back either because they're just so inexperienced. I think they should use a U22 spot maybe on a goalkeeper possibly because Ustari is like 39. Use a U22 spot on him. Who should NYCFC sign? Need signings really badly. I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. They've got to get a DP in there at number 10 who can replace. What's Santiago Rodriguez? Michael says Glanovich is Argentine youth national, but he is loaned to Philly and currently injured. Keyshawn said, isn't Segovia 22? Yeah, he is. Segovia, Avilés, and Redondo are the U22s. And only one of them are starting. Only one of them are starting. Angelo says DP10 for NYCFC is a big must. Yeah, I mean, you sold your best player on the opening day and didn't even replace him. And also, too, we have to mention this about Messi, is just the way he looks. He looks very upset. He walked off the pitch after they lost to Vancouver and just looked completely checked out. He looked very upset. He looked very, very upset. Like he just is pissed off. And I honestly think that a big mistake was hiring Javier Mascherano. That was a big mistake. I think you didn't need to hire his friend only. You need to hire someone who would hold him accountable. And I think Xavi would have been a better solution. We got 5